Google scores a 6-year Meta Cloud deal worth over $10 billion. Key points. Google won a $10 billion cloud contract from Meta spanning 6 years, according to the two people familiar with the matter. Meta has largely been reliant on the Amazon Web Services for cloud infrastructure, though it also uses Microsoft Azure. As all of the big internet companies are spending heavily on cloud infrastructure as they build out to meet demand for artificial intelligence workload. Meta has agreed to spend more than $10 billion in Google Cloud services, as according to the people familiar with the matter. The agreement spans 6 years, said the people, who asked not to be named because the terms are confidential. The deal was reported earlier by the information. Google is aiming to land the big cloud contract as it chases the large rivals Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure in cloud infrastructure. Earlier this year, Google won cloud business from OpenAI, which had earlier been deeply dependent on Microsoft Azure infrastructure. Alphabet said that in July, the Google Cloud unit, which contains the productivity software subscription in addition to the infrastructure, produced $2.83 billion in operating income on $13.6 billion in revenue during the second quarter. Revenue growth of 32% outpaced expansion of 13.8% for the company as a whole. Its Meta deal with Google is mainly around artificial intelligence infrastructure, said one of the people. So Meta said in its earnings report last month that it expects total expenses for 2025 to be in the range of $114 billion to $118 billion. It's investing heavily in AI infrastructure and talent, building out its Llama family of the models, and adding AI across its portfolio of services. Meta and Google have long been rivals in online ads, but Meta needs all the cloud infrastructure it can access. The company operates data centers and has made a commitment to use cloud services from Amazon and Microsoft. Google declined to comment. Google switches from Samsung to TSMC. Pixel 10 and Tensor G5 chip use TSMC's N3P process. Okay, this week, Google introduced its Pixel 10 smartphone running its Tensor G5 application processor. The new smartphone offers a high-performance, bigger batteries with faster charging, magnetic wireless charging, and 7 years of software support. But the most interesting part of the announcement is that Google reported switched the contract manufacturers of the processor from Samsung to TSMC. From that, what is perhaps more noteworthy is that Google allegedly switched to TSMC ahead of Apple, TSMC's alpha customers. Almost the same phone. Both Pixel 9 and Pixel 10 handsets maintain a nearly identical look to their predecessors, with new features in Moonstone, Obsidian, Porcelain, and Jade. The flagship Pixel 10 product features a 6.3-inch LTPO OLED at a 1280 by 2856 resolution, while the Beyond flagship XL grows to 6.8 inches at 1344 by 2992. The Tensor G5 is the central change in the Pixel 10 Pro and Pro XL, and is the first Pixel processor manufactured by TSMC, moving away from the Samsung's fabrication, which historically lagged in efficiency. This switch is expected to bring both higher performance and better power management. In terms of the raw numbers, Google said the CPU inside the Tensor G5 delivered a 34% speed increase compared to the Tensor G4 for AI-driven tasks. The improvements are even more substantial, with a 60% boost in performance. However, it's worth noting that this claim comes from Google, and there's no information provided about data from it used. N3P. It appears that chip uses TSMC's N3P, a performance-enhanced 3nm class process technology, fabrication process, the most advanced foundry technology currently used. The motivation of the Google moves may be that TSMC has constantly delivered stronger yield and a more refined transistor design at a 3nm class, enabling high performance at lower power. The TSMC N3P manufacturers processes optical shrink of the N3E platform, offering a tangible gain in performance, efficiency, and density while retaining full design compatibility, which is not the case for Google's IP. In terms of the performance, N3P provides about a 4% boost in speed at the same power levels, or alternatively, 5 to 10% reduction in energy use while maintaining the scale clock rates. This balance gives the designer a lot of flexibility in terms of either pushing for high performance or optimizing for longer battery life and reduced thermal out. Depending on the product goals, which was perhaps Google's goal, the chip designer has likely achieved a success at the G5 powering the Pixel 10 is now mass production. Okay, the next one is investors general and on NVIDIA result as US tech stocks waver. The New York wrote a wobble in US technology shares has raised its stake in NVIDIA's corporation quarter result on Wednesday, with earnings from the semiconductor giant posing a crucial test for the scorchy AI trade. The benchmark in S&P 500 has pulled back each week from the record levels, dragged power by a roughly 3% drop of the fourth so far. This is heavily the tech giant after a huge run for the group, fueled by its dominant artificial intelligence product and NVIDIA massive shares price gains that have wheeled both the tech sectors and overall the market in recent years. Last month, NVIDIA has become the first company to top the $4 trillion in the market values. And investors are now the more anxious heading into the NVIDIA's result, and said Matthew Melley, Chief Market Strategist at Miller Tabak. So when the group goes down, the most important stock in the group reports earnings, that is going to have a bigger impact than usual, Melley said. NVIDIA stock has climbed about 30% so far in 2025, pushing its gain gained over 1,040% since October 2022. The California-based company has epitomized the broader AI excitement that has driven up the share of the left to the tech companies and other involved AI infrastructure, such as power generation and cooling systems. NVIDIA is almost looked at approximately what is happening in the artificial intelligence at Match Orton, Chief Market Strategy, and Raymond James, Chief Investment Management. There's definitely a read through that happens to the broader AI trade, which has really been the main driver of the S&P 500's return this year. Analysts just said it's possible reasons for recent tech stock weakness include cautionary AI industry development, including comments from the OpenAI CEO Sam Altman that investors may be getting overexcited about AI. NVIDIA's result will close out a second quarter U.S. corporate earnings season that are largely surpassed expectations and have to support equities. And S&P 500 company earnings are on track to have climbed 12.9% from the year earlier period, up from an expected 5.8% rise on July 1st, according to the LSEG IBS. Goldman Sachs strategists pointed to the particular earnings strength so far the Magnificent Seven. The group sold mega-cap companies that include NVIDIA as well as Apple and Microsoft, including estimated for NVIDIA and significant are on the track to have decreased earnings by the 26% compared to the 8%, 7% for remaining 493 stocks in the index. And the strategies get set in the note. NVIDIA is expected to post 48% rise in earnings per share for revenue of $45.9 billion for its second fiscal quarter, according to the LSEG data. Mega cap tech companies focusing on AI have recently increased their estimation for capital spending, which should be favorable for NVIDIA, said the Purple Roche portfolio manager and Allspring Global Investment. NVIDIA's commentary on the demand side should be more bullish just because their largest customers have kind of up to their capex guidance over the last few quarters. Which said, adding the demand for NVIDIA's product is also broadening beyond the largest tech companies. Economic data investors also focus the U.S. economic data in this coming week, including on consumer sentiment, on inflation. Despite the latest week's tech-driven decline, the S&P 5 remains up to over 6% this year and stands less than 2% below its record closing high. As tech shares fell this week, some investors rotated into other areas of the market that have not been as strong as the recent week, such as healthcare, consumer staple. But major equity indexes will be hard pressed to keep them moving higher if the technical falter, and given its heavy presence in those indexes, Malley said. Tech is by far the largest of the S&P 500 of 11 sectors, with a 33 weight. NVIDIA alone has nearly 8% weight in the index. If these tech stocks continue to fall, and it means that the indexes will continue to fall, Malley said. No way around it. Reporting by Didi. Okay, next one is tech. Well, NVIDIA's CEO surprised by the Beijing's move to question the security of H20 AI chips. Huang made the comment during a visit to Taiwan on Friday, where he had meetings scheduled with a top executive from the foundry TSMC. The tech world, NVIDIA CEO surprised by the Beijing move to question the security of the H20 AI chips. The Huang made the comment during the visit to Taiwan on Friday, where he had a meeting scheduled with the top executives from the foundry TSMC. As the NVIDIA CEO, Jensen Huang said he was surprised by Beijing's questioning on the security of its H20 artificial intelligence chip that would be up to the U.S. government to decide whether the company can produce a new product for the Chinese market. Huang made the comment during the visit to Taiwan on Friday, where he had a meeting scheduled with the top executive from the Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company TSMC, the silicon foundry that makes NVIDIA's chips. Separately, the U.S. tech media outlet information reported that NVIDIA had instructed component suppliers, including Samsung Electronics and Amkor Technology, to stop production related to the H20 after Beijing's move to dissuade the Chinese companies from buying the chips. Huang said that NVIDIA was surprised by the doubt from China about the H20. They requested and urged us to secure licenses for the H24 sometimes, and I've worked quite hard to help them secure the licenses. The Chinese concerns about the security of the H20 chips, which were tailor-made for the Chinese market to comply with the Washington's export restriction, were partly based on a proposal by the U.S. lawmakers that AI chips exported to China should have tracking the features. Meanwhile, they are going to decide that China may be close to pulling off the homegrown AI stacking that could replace NVIDIA's product. On Thursday, China's artificial intelligence startup DeepSeek said the country will soon have homegrown next-generation chips for the AI stacking, fanning speculation ever breakthrough that may have been achieved. On Friday, Huang reiterated the company's line the H20 had no backdoors. There's no such things, and there's never has been. Huang told reporters Shipping A20 to China is not a national security concern. It's great for America and it's great for the Chinese market, Huang said, adding the demand for chips from the Chinese customers was quite great. Regarding any new NVIDIA chip designed for China, Huang said it would be decided by Washington. That's not our decision to make. It's up to the U.S. government, he said. We are in dialogue with them, but it's too soon to know. The Cybersecurity Administration of China, the powerful agency in charge of new network security, said in a statement July 31st that it had summoned NVIDIA to ask about potential backdoors in H20 chips. The concern was further amplified by the state media outlets, with China's Central Television, CCTV, and the affiliate calling H20 chips neither environmentally friendly nor advanced or safe. According to the industry sources and media reports, China's tech firms have been dissuaded by the country's regulators from purchasing H20 chips. Tencent Holdings President Martin Lau Chi-ping told a conference call last week that the company was taking and wait and see the stance on chip import, but it had a sufficient inventory to train AI models. Okay, next one is Intel CEO responded after Trump calls for resignation. What Trump is calling for Intel CEO's resignation. As Intel, the CEO Lip-Bu Tan responded to President Trump public call for his resignations late Thursday, calling reports about his career misinformation. In a letter to staff, he said that company was engaging with the Trump administration. There seems to be a lot of the misinformation circulating about my past roles. I want to be absolutely clear. Over 40 years in the industry, I've built a relationship around the world and across our diverse ecosystem, and I have always operated with the highest legal and ethical standards, Tan wrote. As early as Thursday, the President Trump wrote on Truth Social, the social media platform he owns. The CEO of Intel is highly conflicted and must resign immediately. There is no other solution to this problem, he continued to. Thanks for your attention to this problem. Tan was named the Intel CEO back in March, taking over the payback as singer as a tumultuous tenure that saw the company's stock plummet and the chipmakers fall behind their AI race. Investors cheered the Tan appointment, with the stock rising as much as 15% after news, and the Wall Street analysts as well as the current and former executive employees saw the Tan as the best possibility to succeed in turning around the troubled company. Intel stock rose Friday after losing over 3% Thursday in the aftermath of the Trump's post. And Intel issued a statement following the Trump's comment, emphasizing its commitment to advancing U.S. national and economic security interests and making investment aligned with the President of American First agenda, including the domestic semiconductor manufacturing. As we look forward to our continued engagement with the administration, the statement concluded. In April, the Reuters report details Tan's wide-range investment in China's companies made through his VC venture capital firm Deadwater International. The RI found that the firm remains investing into any funds and companies alongside China's government funds and state-owned enterprises, according to the Chinese corporate databases. The Tan has served the board and in various executive roles at 14 firms in the semiconductor space, and most notably including his tenure as the CEO of Cadence Design Systems, a chip design software company. Trump's post came a day after one of his top Senate allies, Republican Tom Cotton, wrote a letter to the Intel board there questioning Tan's Chinese ties. Intel is required to be a responsible steward of the American taxpayers' dollars and comply with the applicable security regulations, Cotton wrote. Pointing to the Intel's nearly $8 billion grant from the CHIP Act, Mr. Tan's associations raised question about India's ability to fulfill these obligations. Lip-Bu is a legend in the semi industry, and his ties to many companies, both in and out of China, are well known. A burst into analyst Stacy Lexner writing a note to the investors on Thursday following the Trump's Truth Social post. We don't believe the Libertarians conflicted through, though given the nature of the disordered administration, Libertarians' Chinese ties are seemingly creating an increasing bad look. And Lescon added, and unfortunately, unlike other tech CEOs, Liputin does not appear to have cultivated the kind of personal relationship with Trump that would help to assuage his ire. The Intel shares up just 1.8% for the year, lagging other chips stock as AMD and Broadcom and market leader NVIDIA. And late July, the Intel stock sank after the company reported that it would cut its workforce by 15% in an attempt to pare costs as it struggled to revive its line chip manufacturing business. Intel both designs and manufactures chips for itself, has in recent years tried to produce chips for third-party customers to boost its manufacturing business. So far, efforts have fallen short. The company said in the largest earnings report to the scraping an attempt to making its latest manufacturing process technology called 18A available for its customers, something analysts had been calling crucial to its turnaround effort to ability to catch up the rival chip makers TSMC. Adding to the turmoil, the Wall Street Journal reported latest Thursday that a CEO was at as several members of Intel's board and had butted heads for Chairman Frank's area over whether the company should describe its manufacturing business. Tan said in his letter to the staff, the board is fully supportive of the work we are doing to transform our company, innovate for customers, and execute it with this line, and we are making the process. Okay, next one is Intel rarely used 16 times the MSAA support on an Xe3 GPU. AI upscaler like Xe FSR and DLSS provide a better, more efficient result. AI method taking over. The Intel has begun to purchase phasing out the 16 times MSAA support in its upcoming Xe3 graphics, as revealed by the engineers Kenneth Corrigan in a recent Mesa driver commit. 16x MSAA isn't supported at all on the certain Xe3 variant and on its way out in the last. Most vendors choose not to support it, and many apps offer more than a modern multi-sampling and upscaling techniques these days. Only 2, 4, 8 times are supported going forward, and the change has already landed in the Mesa 25.3 in the Devil range and is breaking back the supported to the earlier 25.1 and 25.2 releases. And this marks a clear shift away from the brute force and anti-aliasing toward the AI accelerate upscaling in the smarter sampling and multi-sample anti-aliasing like 16.8 MSAA once the offers clean edges by sampling geometry multiple times per pixel, but at a steep performance cost. Even at lowest tiers, MSAA can be demanding, especially on complex scenes, and it fails to smooth transparency or shader artifacts well. It once used to be king of its domain, but the era is long gone, as it hasn't been useful in about a decade, and 16 times flavor is simply unrealistic to begin with. And today's modern techniques like XeSS and AMD's FSR and NVIDIA's DLSS provide anti-aliasing plus resolution upscaling image instruction and often outperforming traditional MSAA with much less GPU strength, not to mention the frame generation capabilities. These upscalers can all be run in the native AI mode to improve the imaging quality and can outperform templar AI methods like TAA in reducing flicker and preserving the detail. MASs were close by detecting edge and an edge sequence contemporary variance and scaling tech. We've stopped chasing higher internal rendering solutions that would otherwise be required for MSAA to work effectively. AI-based temporary solutions simply do it all and continue to get the most amount of community support as well. Intel's XeSS is a super sampling with a wide primarily intended for scaling and for frame generation and also deliver modern anti-aliasing capability across the frame. Edge ladder static is supported not only Intel's own GPUs but also working on NVIDIA's and AMD hardware, giving developers and vendor industry path to the integrated advanced sampling and latency optimizations. So why drop 16 times 16x MSAA? Intel, like other vendors, recognizes the returns of the ultra-heavy MSAA combined with the rising quality and the efficiency of the temporal and AI-powered alternatives. Game engineers, especially those rely on the different rendering, often disable higher MSAA level together. Community feedback should echo this. Users prove that while MSAA used the great and newer techniques to provide better visuals with a smoother performance. Okay, next one is the NVIDIA's CUDA platform now supports RISC-V support, bringing the open source instruction set to AI platforms joining x86 and ARM. Yet another alternative. At the 2024 RISC-V Summit in China, NVIDIA announced that its CUDA software platform will be made compatible with the RISC-V instruction set architecture ISA on the CPU side of things. The news was confirmed during the presentation during the RISC-V event. This is a major step in enabling RISC-V ISA-based CPUs in the performance-demanding applications. The announcement makes it clear that RISC-V can now serve as the main processor for the CUDA-based systems, a role traditionally filled with the x86 or ARM cores, while nobody even very expected RISC-V in hyperscaler data centers at time soon. RISC-V can be used in the CUDA-enabled edge devices such as NVIDIA's Jetson modules. However, it's like NVIDIA's does intend to expect RISC-V to be in the data center. NVIDIA's profile of RISC-V seems to be quite high as the keynote as the RISC-V Summit in China was delivered by the Francis Mastersman, who appeared to the Vice President of Hardware Engineers at NVIDIA. The presentation outlined how CUDA components will now run on RISC-V. And the diagram shows a session illustrated a typical configuration. The GPU handles parallel workloads while RISC-V CPU executes CUDA system drivers, application logic, and the operating system, and the setup enables the CPU's orchestration, GPU compensation fully within the CUDA environment. Given the NVIDIA current focus and the workload must be AI related, yet the company did not confirm this. However, there is more. Other features in the diagram was the GPU handling networking tasks surrounding all consisting to GPU compute, CPU to orchestration and data movement. This configuration clearly suggests NVIDIA vision to build a heterogeneous compute platform where the RISC-V CPU can be central to the managing workloads, while the NVIDIA's GPU and DPU and networking chips handle the rest. Yet again, there is more. Even this low-profile announcement in NVIDIA and essentially breaches proprietary CUDA stacks to an open architecture. One seems to be developed fast in China, yet being able to ship flagship GB2200 and GB300 offering in China, the company has to find ways to keep its CUDA thriving. Whether or not the signals NVIDIA's readiness to diversify its economy beyond the proprietary host platform is something that is not exactly clear. Nonetheless, if the stars align, then NVIDIA has just positioned the RISC-V as a viable alternative in the future AI and HPC processor designed across data centers. This is something that no one expected its may influence other companies to follow suit. On the other hand, support of the RISC-V broadened the CUDA opportunity system that favored open instruction sets or needed custom process implementation, which essentially means Chinese companies' custom silicon. Yet again, the inclusion of RISC-V strengthens options for NVIDIA just developed targeting specialized and embedded computer algorithms. Thank you for your time. See you next time.